Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all of you. It's Ali Khan Wajid along with Gemini with a very important and imperative video lecture regarding the world population explosion and importance of the World Contraceptive Day being celebrated tomorrow on 26th of September. This is the day which is celebrated all over the world on 26th of September, just to make realize all the people living under the sun about the family planning norms and its worth. In this video lecture, I would better able to tell and share all about the world happening towards the population of the world, especially in the third world. Dear audience, dear spectators, before going to talk about the family planning norms and just ask all of the eligible couples to use the contraceptives, it is much more better to talk about the results that we are facing today. Just because of the population explosion, we haven't had all that to think and dream about that what should we plan in this regard. This is a better picture projection of a nutrition center where there are poor guys, poor childs are there just to ask for food. Oh, dear audience, dear spectators, it is a picture that better depicts the poor living and pauperness of third world countries, where people are compelled to snatch even a flour bag being supplied by the government on low cost. If we have planned our family size, then such condition might not prevail. It is a picture that asks us, demands us to secure the future of our posterity in the near future. If we don't think all that at the present stage, then when? It's time to decide what we are going to hand over to our coming generation, whether we are going to hand over prosperity or poverty to our coming generation. We just need to think all that, as we have passed so many decades. We have even wasted our time since the establishment of Pakistan. Dear fellows, dear listeners, dear onlookers, it isn't just a picture, but it is the reality of ourselves, the people living in the third world countries. They have ever been developing nations. Why so? We need to have some practical work to improve our living standard. Dear audience, dear spectators, one more depiction of our Pakistani society and the population explosion. Why shouldn't I say it a population explosion? It also shows the lack of resources and the lack of opportunities. This picture doesn't only depict the growth of population that is unchecked. It is also meant to be that the people don't have the resources to meet their basic necessities. It is very rightly said, no doubt a child is a God's will so that the world may go on. But is it correct? Is it appropriate to have such a huge and tremendous population, a country and the people who are called underdeveloped country, and it is meant to be a country, a poor one? It is meant to be that having no proper way of living, nothing accurate or good, even scarcely availability of the basic necessities of life. Why we are so unaware of all that, what we are facing since the establishment of our state Pakistan? No doubt we all have to do all that for ourselves. We are third world country, and third world country is meant to be where there you are to see beggars in the markets, in the street, and the children are in rags. They are just begging for food and just for penny all the way out. But even then, we, the parents, are not thinking all that whether we are in a position to produce or issue the babies that we can meet all their basic necessities. Certainly not. We have so many lame arguments with us that why we are producing and issues such a huge, tremendous population growth, but we don't have logical arguments with us. Dear audience, now I talk about the stress on the urban areas, that is just because of the migration from rural to urban areas, and what the statistics speaks us, that is the migration from rural to urban area, that the ratio is 37.7%. Urban population as a share of total population is, in 2022, urban population for Pakistan was 37.7%. Urban population of Pakistan increased from 25.7% in 1973 to 37.7% in 2022, growing at an average annual rate of 0.79%. It is meant to be the crowd we see in the cities, in the markets. Maximally, they are just wanting to seek their education to get over there and to get employment over there in the cities, just because of lack of opportunities in the villages. Dear audience, dear spectator, it is a jam-packed crowd at a market. Why is it so? Dear audience, dear spectator, now I talk about how many doctors are there per thousand people in Pakistan. Physicians per thousand people in Pakistan was reported at 11,179 in 2019. According to the collection of World Bank development indicators compiled from officially recognized sources. Dear audience, dear spectator, in the previous slide I talked about the availability of the doctors, so the same may better be seen on the slide, that the hospital is jam-packed with the patient, whereas there is a single doctor for all the patients to check up and treat them over there. It is dire need of the time to take radical steps to eradicate all that issues penetrated into the hospitals. Dear audience, dear onlookers, this is the pictures of the retired government employees who devoted their youth in serving the governmental affairs, and now they stand waiting in a scorching sun to receive their pension money to meet the basic necessities of life, either of them or their offsprings. Dear audience, dear onlookers, dear spectators, now I talk about the pensioners. How many pensioners are there in Punjab province? There are more than 3.07 lakhs pensioners in the Punjab province, and in the next slide you would see their state while waiting to get their pension. Dear audience, dear spectators, there is one more picture of the pensioners who are standing in a queue just waiting to get their pension, and there is no shelter at all to be seen. Dear audience, dear spectators, dear onlookers, it is one more jam-packed picture of an airport. It means that we Pakistanis are great in number, that we didn't spare any place to be left vacated. What we need to do is to realize our responsibility as a Pakistani, and we need to determine the economical condition of our country, as eventually all the citizens of Pakistan ought to seek everything from the state. The question arises over there whether the state can provide all that to everyone, and the answer is certainly not. So we need to have a thought, that we need to have our collective thought, and individual thought doesn't mean to have anything good at all. And the message on this particular slide is again just to keep our family size not only as per own income resources, but also to see whether the country affords all that or not. And the answer is again certainly not. Our country doesn't have all that what everyone needs over there. Dear audience, dear spectators, just to look at this particular slide, it's very much alarming, and the caption is over there on the slide is, how many people in Pakistan live under the poverty line? So there are 95 million Pakistanis. The leader on Friday also revealed that poverty in Pakistan shoot up to 39.4% as of last fiscal year, with 12.5 million more people falling into the trap due to the poor economic conditions. How alarming, how painful all that to get to know. Dear audience, in the first line there is a word lender. What is meant by a lender? A lender is an individual, a public or private group, or a financial institution that makes funds available to a person or business with the expectation that the funds will be repaid. Dear audience, dear spectators, dear onlooker, one more painful picture on your slide, and that is the sisters, daughters, and mothers of ours who have gathered there in a huge number just to receive their financial assistance, and all that is just because of poverty. It may better be defined in other words that such a cluster might not be seen if our forefathers or ancestors have planned out their family size in accordance with their means. It is a time and it is a message for all of us to start thinking the way that we have to keep the family size of ours not only in accordance with our means, but also that we need to have not to spend all the money that we earn, but we need to save it as well for a rainy day. Dear audience, dear spectators, dear onlookers, one more tragic and painful information. According to the ILO, stands for International Labour Organization, estimates Pakistan employment to population ratio in 2023 fell well below its pre-crisis trend line at 47.6%. That is very big. While the number of unemployment persons is expected to reach 5.6 million. It's also very big, very big. A surge of 1.5 million since 2021. Dear audience, dear spectators, this is also just because of our misplanning towards our family size. How? This question certainly arises how I have said so. It is because if we have restricted ourselves in issuing the babies as per our income and resources, then we may engage our babies with self business and hence they may not become a burden on the state like Pakistan. Dear audience, dear onlookers, now I am going to talk about what I have depicted on the previous slides, and that is population explosion and World Contraceptive Day on 26 September every year all over the world. What is its historical background? Why do we celebrate this certain particular day? Birth control. It is meant to be use of contraceptive and fertility. It refers to the methods or devices that have been historically used to resist pregnancy. This practice is called family planning. When did it start? Beginning of birth control. It has been practiced since the 16th century by the residents of Gemini in West Africa. Before going to read the next lines, I would better try to define where Gemini is located. It is an ancient trading city and center of Muslim scholarship. Southern Mali, it is situated on the Bani River and on floodlands between the Bani and Niger rivers, 220 miles southwest of Timbuktu. And now I talk about the next lines. It is meant to be spacing time suggested by the physician. What was suggested at that time by the physician? Married women were suggested to space their birth at a 3-year gap. At that time, the married women were asked just to have a gap of 3 years. Dear audience, dear onlookers, when did it start worldwide? It is meant to be when World Contraceptive Day start to be celebrated. And what was its purpose? The purpose of certain days celebrations is to extend awareness to all the segments of the society, and was launched in 2007 by WCD, World Contraceptive Days mission. The basic motive is to make the people aware about the family planning norms, importance and vast range of its methods. It further informs about the choices options on their sexual and reproductive health. Dear audience, the next slide on your screen is what is contraceptive and why is it important? Contraception is meant to be the act of preventing pregnancy. How? This can be through a device. It might be a procedure and it might be a behavior. What is its importance? Contraception allows a woman control of her reproductive health and affords the woman the ability to be an active participant in her family planning. Dear audience, dear onlookers, dear spectators, and now the next slide on your screen is why was contraception invented? What was the purpose behind its invention? A few thousand years ago, when contraception was first developed, its basic purpose was just to prevent sexual disease. It was then much later when it was started using as a way of preventing pregnancies. Dear audience, dear spectators, what was the oldest family planning method? The earliest method of contraception was perhaps coitus interruptus. The word coitus is meant to be sexual intercourse, and the word interruptus has been taken from the Latin word. It is meant to be break apart, break off, break through. What Roman literature and ancient Egyptian texts say about all that? The use of goat's bladder as a female sheath was found there at that times. The Roman literature mentions so, whereas the Egyptian text mentioned the use of vaginal pessaries. Dear audience, dear spectators, dear onlookers, I have just said the word pessaries. Pessaries are removable devices that provide support after a prolapse. Prolapses happen when the walls of the uterus or vagina become weak, which can happen with age or after childbirth. Your organs can drop out of place during a prolapse. A pessary is often used as a non-surgical treatment option for a prolapse. It was a device that just stopped pregnancy. Dear audience, now come to the certain point who invented the first birth control method. In 1950s, while in her 80s, Sanger organizes a ceased for research to create the first birth control pill, and in 1053, biologists John Rock and Gregory Godwin Pincus developed the control pill, funded by $2 million by a philanthropist, Catherine Dexter McCormick. Dear audience, now there comes the slide that talk about the older method of family planning. It included condoms, internal and external, made of animal bladders, linen, silk or plants, honey, rock salt, crocodile dung, spermicides made of acacia, sponges made of moss, grass and bamboo were the contraceptive methods used in olden era. Dear audience, dear onlookers, why was it essential to have contraception? What are the two basic purposes of contraception? The use of contraception not only reduces the rates of unintended pregnancies, contraception also reduces the need for unsafe HIV transmission from mothers to newborns. What are the advantages of using contraception? It benefits the girls to get education and create opportunities for women to put their active part more fully in society. Dear audience, now a special certain point I am going to discuss or share with you. In our country, we are facing such a state religiously. Whereas if I talk about the other Muslim countries like Iran and Bangladesh and so many others, where there are the religious scholars are supporting highly. No doubt here in our country, the departments in all the provinces and in federal have got the assistance of religious scholars, but even then they are unable to have all that what is needed right now in our country. So what the Holy Quran says about family planning? Islam is a lenient and supportive religion. It teaches the concept of married life full of rejoice and prosperity. It further talks about the better education of the children and to manage the family economy. Here are some of the Quranic verses that talks about family planning. Surah Al-Isra verse 31, Al-Qasas verse 77, Al-Anam verse 151, Al-Baqarah verse 233 and 266, and An-Nisa verse 9. It is meant to be in our religion there is no restriction of family planning. So we just need to be broadened our thoughts and vision. Dear audience, dear spectators, what is the meaning of family planning in Islam? It means preventing pregnancy due to the joyful activity of intercourse between husband and wife. It has been well known since the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with the act of azal. What is meant by azal? Which means discharging of man's semen or seminal fluid out of the woman's vaginal. And the same is exercised in the form of coitus interruptus, which means ejaculation. Dear audience, dear onlookers, dear fellows, what is the baby gap in Islam? What Islam says about spacing? In the previous two slides, first of all, I have given reference from the Holy Quran verses. There is no restriction of family planning in the Holy Quran. And then I have given the slide regarding the exercise of azal in the era of Allah's Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now what Islam says about baby gap? The Holy Quran says women must breastfeed their children for 2 years. It is the polity towards spacing that comes from Islam. Traditions allow women to go to their parents' homes to breastfeed their children for 2 years, which allows them to not have closely spaced pregnancies. It is meant to be that women are bound to feed their children for 2 years. It is meant to be that there is automatic way of spacing, a gap between the babies. Dear audience, dear spectators, before going to talk about the family planning norms and just ask all of the eligible couples to use the contraceptives, it is much more better to talk about the results that we are facing today. Just because of the population explosion, we haven't had all that to think and dream about that what should we plan in this regard. This is a better picture projection of a nutrition center where there are poor guys, poor childs are there just to ask for food. Dear audience, dear onlookers, dear spectators, now I talk about the most densely populated countries of the world. Bangladesh. The flag of Bangladesh is also over there. Is the most densely populated with 1330 people per square kilometer. And the next one is Monaco. It had the highest population density in 2021 with nearly 25,000 people per square kilometer. And the next country is Bahrain, 700 people per square kilometer. All the three are the Muslim countries. Dear audience, then the next most densely populated country of the world is Singapore. The population density in Singapore is 8,592 per square kilometer. It is meant to be the median age in Singapore is 42.8 years. Dear audience, one more mostly densely populated country is Malta. In 2023 is 1672.0 people per square kilometer, and it was an increase of 0.33% from 2022. The population density of Malta in 2022 was 1666.52 people per square kilometer, and that was an increase of 1.24% from 2021. Dear audience, now I talk about the country situated in subcontinent Asia and 10 most populous countries list over there. First of all, India now has compete China in population. India 1429 million stands first, and then China with 1426 million people, and then there comes Indonesia 278 million, then there comes Pakistan 240 million. It is alarming. A country so poor economically must not have such a huge population. And then there comes Bangladesh having the population of 173 million, and then there come Japan 123 million, and then there come Philippines 117 million, Vietnam 99 million, Iran 89 million, and Turkey 86 million. Dear audience, now I have shown the picture, the growth and population of Pakistan from 1998 to then 2017, then 2023, and what was the annual growth rate of our provinces. Here is a slide that better depicts the population and its growth ratio as well. Dear audience, dear spectators, dear onlookers, top 10 Muslim inhabitants countries population. Here is the attached list of the Muslim inhabitants countries enjoying the maximum population, where there are the majority of the Muslim residing, and the list with their name of the countries and population is on your screen. Dear audience, dear spectator, the caption of this slide is on your screen, and the caption is most and least populated countries of the world. The least populated country is Vatican City, is the least populated country in the world with a population of just over 800 persons. It is the world's smallest fully independent nation state. And next there comes the most populous country. India is the most populated country now in the world with a population of more than 1,042,000,000 and some more over. Dear audience, now a certain slide on your screen talks about what is the share of the continents in the growth of the population. There comes first Asia and Africa together share about 77% of the global population. Europe has a population of around 748 million, 9.50%. Then there comes North America is home to around 597 million, and the average ratio contribution is 7.58%. South America, the second lowest populated continent, has about 434 million inhabitants, and the contribution in the population growth of the world is 5.51%. Dear audience, dear onlooker, what we use for family planning awareness and what is the purpose behind it? ICT material for family planning awareness. What does ICT stand for? It stands for Information and Communication Technology. Family planning. Family planning refers to practices that help individuals or couples to attain certain objectives. And the objectives are on your screen, dear fellows. To avoid unwanted births. Number 2, to bring about wanted births. Number 3, to regulate the intervals between pregnancies. Number 4, to control the time at which births occur in relation to the ages of the parent. And the last one to determine the number of children in the family, that how many children they are intent to have as per their income and resources. Dear audience, dear onlooker, now there comes the certain purpose of family planning. How do you counsel an eligible client on oral contraceptive? Encourage the client to explain needs, express concerns, ask questions, let the client's wishes and needs guide the discussion. Be alert to related needs such as protection from sexually transmitted infections including HIV and support for condom use. Listen carefully. All that is required for the person who are just going to counsel or motivate the eligible couples. Dear audience, dear spectator, in the previous slide I talked about the availability of the doctors, so the same may better be seen on the slide, that the hospital is jam-packed with the patient, whereas there is a single doctor for all the patients to check up and treat them over there. It is dire need of the time to take radical steps to eradicate all that issues penetrated into the hospitals. Dear audience, now the slide on your screen is about long-term family planning methods. Contraceptives that are more than 99% effective. Contraceptive implant lasts up to 3 years. Intrauterine system or IUS up to 5 years. Intrauterine device or IUD, also called the coil, up to 5 to 10 years. Female sterilization, it is a permanent method. It is called your surgery. And then male sterilization is called your vasectomy. It is also a permanent source of surgery to avoid just the new generation into the new world. Dear audience, now there is a slide about short-term family planning methods. Short-acting methods include barrier methods such as condoms or hormonal methods such as the pills, patch or ring. They are temporary methods. Dear audience, now there comes 10 methods of contraception. First of all, implants that I have already talked about, intrauterine device, IUDs, injections, oral contraceptive pills, vaginal rings, barrier methods. They are external and internal condoms. And then tubal ligation and vasectomy. Tubal ligation is for the women, whereas vasectomy for the men. Emergency contraception, natural methods also known as natural family planning or fertility awareness based methods. Dear audience, dear spectators, now there is contraceptive implant. It is a small thin rod-like device you wear under the skin in your arm to prevent pregnancy. The implant releases the hormone progesterone into your bloodstream. It is effective for 3 years. In your next slide, dear audience, you would see what is an implant, a thin rod like. Dear audience, dear spectator, in the previous slide I talked about the availability of the doctors, so the same may better be seen on the slide, that the hospital is jam-packed with the patient, whereas there is a single doctor for all the patients to check up and treat them over there. It is dire need of the time to take radical steps to eradicate all that issues penetrated into the. Dear audience, now the slide on your screen is about long-term family planning methods. Contraceptives that are more than 99% effective. Contraceptive implant lasts up to 3 years. Dear audience, dear onlookers, dear fellows, it is the picture contraceptive oral pills that are used by the women. This is the contraception method being used by the women to avoid pregnancy. Dear audience, dear spectators, dear onlookers, this is the last slide regarding the caption of World Population and Contraceptive Day. I tried to talk about with picture description and statistical data what we are regarding the population growth and what measures we can take to minimize or reduce the population, especially of Pakistan, my beloved country. Here is how to control population explosion. The government's will and pragmatic population planning, increasing contraceptive prevalence, engaging religious scholars in holistic interpretation of religion, increasing literacy and women's education, checking the practice of child marriages and debunking traditional myths, ensuring implementation of limited. No doubt government is taking all that what may be taken in our Islamic country. But whenever we don't take steps at our own part, government can do nothing. So we need to realize not only what we generate, what we earn, we also need to think all that we may have enough money, enough amount to meet all the requirement of our children, but eventually after all our children have to go to the hospitals, to the public sector schools, to the public sector colleges and universities. So we also need to think all about the state, that how much money they have with them to give us. So dear listener, dear fellows, dear onlookers, now this video lecture is with you. You just need to see all that. I just request, I just beseech, if you are married one, then you just need to think about it. We being a responsible Pakistani needs to contribute as much as we can, especially in reducing and minimizing and making family planning of our family. Certainly we are responsible of our doings. So again, I am thankful to all of you to have all that what I have expressed, what I have placed on my video lecture. Thanks to you all. Have a good day. Allah Hafiz.